Hi, I'm Victoria. Welcome to my channel. I've been feeling really nostalgic lately for some reason. I've been rewatching one of my first ever anime, and I've also got this video planned where I'm going to reread some of my 6th grade favorites. So I don't know what that's about, but I'm enjoying it. But the thing I want to talk about today is one of my first loves, Sailor Moon. But I was a lover of the anime and never actually read the manga, even though I have owned the first 8 volumes since early high school. I don't know why I've never read these, but I want to actually go through these and see if I love the manga as much as I remember loving the anime, or if I even still really connect with this series like how I used to. It's time for them to be put to the test. And so my plan is I'm gonna read these 8 for this video. And I think I'm gonna do a check-in with you guys after each volume. And after the 8, I have to decide, okay, am I gonna go ahead and buy the final 4 for the series? I think there's 12 total, I'm pretty sure. Or am I going to unhaul these as well? My unhaul pile is getting pretty big over in the corner, but time to get started with volume 1, I guess. Okay, so first book complete. This was a lot of fun and very nostalgic. It definitely has its flaws. I'm hoping that as the series goes on, some of them go down a little bit because some of them were starting to get to me. One of them is that I think when this series first came out, they must have just been doing them chapter by chapter because the mangaka does an intro to all the main girls that are in the group at the time, at the beginning of each chapter. And in this first volume is when we're gathering up the team. So it's each chapter you're adding one more person. It gets really repetitive really quick. Another thing was that it is very convenient. Any situation they get into, it's right before that they got some gadget or whatever that happens to work perfectly for that situation, which is a pretty common, I feel kids monster of the week type of thing, where it's just prepping you for just the bad guy of the moment. And so that one didn't bother me too bad. It's just yeah, I see what you're doing, you know? Another kind of weird thing was, so our main girl, Usagi, and Mamoru, I think that's his name, the guy who's Tuxedo Mask, they have 3 years apart from each other. She's in 8th grade and he's in 11th. And that is already kind of a weird age gap, but I don't know, in my mind, they kind of get a little bit of a pass because they have a abnormal connection with each other because of stuff. But the guy who works at the arcade, I forgot his name, but he's in college. So even if he's a freshman in college, he's 18, 19, and he's checking out, thinking about how pretty and stuff Usagi's friends are. So it is a little much to have a 5-year age gap, I guess, and him still kind of be thinking about them like that. But I don't think that one becomes something significant. I think that stays, if I remember correctly, just kind of crushes and things like that throughout the series, hopefully. And then also, even though I do give a little bit of a pass with Mamoru and Usagi, I do want to comment on how it's kind of interesting that the mangaka made their first kiss be when she was passed out drunk from a masquerade ball. Yeah, I don't know about that. But some good things. It's very fun and fast paced, and you don't get bored, and the characters are distinct enough that they feel individual, you know? You're not just kind of feeling they're copy and paste of each other. So that's kind of where I'm standing right now. I think because each chapter has just been kind of this is the next person we're adding to the group. We haven't really gotten to really get to know them. We've gotten to know kind of the basics of their personalities, but not the real depth of anybody. So right now it kind of is all surface level in this volume, but I'm excited to continue on to the next volume. So now for volume 2. All right, volume 2 is complete, and this one is 10,000 times better than the first one. So every issue that I had with the first volume is like gone. It doesn't have like the episode of the week, the villain of the week thing going on like how the first one did, which I prefer the way it is now. And there wasn't any creepy scenes, and we got a lot more going on with the plot now. Like, it's progressed a lot, and we've also learned quite a bit about the enemy and also the group's history, particularly, almost couldn't get that word out, Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask, their history and their relationship. I got to have some of that like heartbreak type of romance that I like. But yeah, I don't really have anything to complain about with this volume. I would say if I were to like give ratings for the two, which I don't really rate a lot of stuff very much, but if I were, then the first one I would probably give like a 3 out of 10. And then this one I would probably give like a maybe 8 out of 10, something like that. It was really enjoyable. And it also was like a lot more emotional compared to the first one. So that probably is another aspect of why I liked it so much more, because that's definitely something I kind of need most of the time in my stories. But yeah, so on to volume 3. All right, now that I've finished 3 volumes, the pacing is starting to get to me. It is like too fast, because in the 3rd book, we've already saved the world once and are already dealing with the next round of bad guys. And it just feels like it's like one thing after the other. And I feel like this story could really benefit from like some character development time, because you don't really feel the relationship between Sailor Moon and the other scouts. You feel it a little bit between her and Tuxedo Mask, but that's because we know about like their history and everything. I think that this series would have benefited a lot if they like went back and forth more between current day and the past, and like showed more history and like the relationships and stuff between the characters before, just so that way, like, because I know like not a lot of time has passed, so obviously not a lot can happen between the characters in the current time period. But because of that, you don't really feel as impacted by some of the things that happen. But aside from some of my issues with the pacing, the actual storyline, like what's going on and what has happened, I'm really enjoying, especially the stuff like connected to the past, and also the stuff with the relationship between Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. I'm really enjoying all of that. I don't really feel connected to any of the Sailor Scouts right now. In this volume, we also got introduced to Chibiusa. But yeah, so on to volume 4. Hi, it's a couple days later. I did finish volume 4 the other day when I was filming, but then I took a nap and didn't get around to filming. So here we are. From what I can remember looking back, I don't really have anything new to say. The plot line is still like getting super interesting, and I'm really enjoying that. But the pacing is still so fast that I don't really feel connected enough with the characters for me to like feel a lot of emotional depth when learning about these things. Like, it's too rushed, I guess. But the story we're talking about is beautiful, so I love that. So I'm having really conflicted feelings. I don't know what the end result is gonna be, if I'm gonna end up keeping this series or not, because I am really enjoying the story. I just wish that the connection I felt with the characters was more about what's actually going on in here, like me getting to know them versus just all of my nostalgia that I have from the TV show and movies growing up. I feel like that is a big reason of why I'm able to feel connected with them like at all. But we're only halfway through the volumes that I have, so who knows, my feelings on it can improve. We shall see. On to volume 5. All right, so volume 5 had one kind of weird aspect to it. I don't want to go into too much detail to avoid as many spoilers as I can during this read through, but it only lasted, there was only 2 panels that had the thing that was like kind of weird to me. So overall I was like able to look past it, and I found this volume again really good. It's nonstop, like the same issue. I think this is just an issue that is really common with action-y manga series. Nowadays, I feel like a lot of these shonen manga that get popular are able to get a little bit more in-depth character-wise than Sailor Moon so far has been able to, but I think that's because they're longer, so they're able to do the, you know, non-stop like action story moving forward stuff, but still over time, you know, we're able to get to know the characters really well. Whereas this series has 12 volumes and I've read through 5 now. And the story, you know, has that fast-paced, fun, and the story itself is deep, but the thing that we're missing is the time with the characters for those deep moments to be able to hit hard, if that makes any sense. But in this volume, Chibiusa got to have a really cool limelight spot, and we got to see her character develop a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. One thing that I knew about but never really like fully paid attention to and realized was there's like this whole series is sci-fi. And like, yeah, I knew that, you know, like the Moon Kingdom and everything, but I didn't realize like how ingrained into the story and everything it was, and it's actually pretty cool. The ideas that this mangaka has are just fascinating, and the story that she creates for these characters, I have so many things that I want to say, but I know it's an older series, but I still don't want to like give away like too big of things, you know, but I just think that she does a really cool job. But yeah, so see you after volume 6. I'm sad. Volume 6 is not my favorite. Now that we've completed the whole arc from before, now it just kind of feels like we're reverting back to kind of villain of the week type of thing, and I'm not interested at all. Like, it doesn't feel like it adds to the story. And I know like Sailor Moon, like the whole plot, you know, is just them like being protectors and stuff. So I get that that's like the purpose, but like as an adult, I'm not really into like monster or villain of the week type of things. That's one of the big reasons why I haven't tried reading Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, is like detective stories like that, where it's just like a new bad guy constantly, don't really appeal to me. So now that we've kind of lost some of the bigger story things that were going on and are back to this, I'm kind of losing some of like what was drawing me in, I guess. And another thing is now Chibiusa is kind of acting a little bit like how she was in the show, just a little annoying. Nowhere near as bad in the show. She was rough to deal with sometimes, but it is starting to show up more than it was before. And also Usagi's like reactions to her are how they were in the show a little bit more, with her sulky jealousy. And I get that she's 14, so like I get it. It's just that doesn't mean that it's gonna be fun to read, you know? So I don't know. I'm hoping that this next one will be better. We got introduced to 3 or 4 new characters. 2 are already shown to be other Sailor Guardians, but I'm pretty sure if my memory serves correctly, the other 2 are as well. And the 2 that we know for sure aren't really my favorite characters. Although I do like that in this one, you know, they're actually in a relationship, whereas in the anime, they show them acting like they're in a relationship, but then like the show tried to spin it off as like, oh yeah, they're cousins, and then that was just weird. But so I like that the manga you know, has them be what they actually are, so that was nice. But overall, like, their characters aren't interesting to me, and they also are kind of like suspicious and stuff right now, and like that's the point and stuff with them at this point of the story, like that's how it's supposed to come off. But you know, it makes it so that I'm not feeling anything with them. And then there was also like this whole jealousy subplot involving Usagi Mamoru and these two characters. So that was just whatever. Like, it didn't interest me either. I think it's just because I like them to just be, you know, the happy, in love, good team and everything. So it's just felt like something thrown in to kind of mess that up a little bit. But yeah, so basically this one kind of feels like filler episode, not filler episode, more just like an extra arc that I didn't need. But we shall see how volume 7 goes. Okay, so I just finished volume 7 and I'm still not really feeling this arc, like this villain arc. I'm feeling better about it than I was in the last volume. I guess it just feels a little bit more fleshed out, but it still feels like kind of pointless, I guess. One thing I do like is some of the stuff that we're getting involving the outer planet guardians. That stuff is pretty cool. The series has become like a pretty cool sci-fi story, but I do feel like it's not really as character developed as I really like in my stories. So right now I'm leaning towards, I'm probably gonna end up unhauling it, which makes me kind of sad. I might still continue it after I finish these 8 volumes, like rent them from somewhere, but I don't think I'm gonna buy the last 4 volumes. That's where I stand, at least so far. I guess we'll see if this last one, volume 8, makes me feel any different, but I will talk to you in a second. All right, so I finished volume 8, the last volume that I own, and it was pretty good. There was some cool stuff that happened in it. My overall feelings about the series, I feel like, have generally stayed consistent. I am kind of sad because right at the end is where we start getting into the arc that was the one that I watched the most of growing up, and that's the one with the circus. And I always loved that one, so I'm kind of sad that like I'm just getting to see that it's starting, but I don't have any to read that part. Like I said, I think I might maybe check out the last few volumes or whatever, but I'm thinking I am gonna end up unhauling these, which does make me a little sad. But I'm trying to do this thing where all of the books that I own, or at least that I own and I've read, are ones that I truly love and like can recommend wholeheartedly. And even though this series was like a big part of like my childhood and everything, it was more the TV show and movies, and this is my first read through of this series, and I also haven't watched the TV show and movies in years. I really enjoyed the large scale plot of this series. The mini stories, or like the different arcs, I didn't really care so much about. It was just like to get through so that way I can get the bigger picture of things. And I don't think I want something that I'm viewing that way. Like, I don't want to own something that I'm viewing as like, okay, yeah, I have to work through these chunks of the series so that way I can get to experience the grand picture. Like, I don't know if that is kind of like shelf worthy is like what I call it, you know? And so I think Sailor Moon for me, I still have like a really good place in my heart for it, but it's probably something that I more prefer for like movies, because I do think I would still really enjoy the movies because they were such a big part of my childhood, you know? But yeah, overall, I guess I'm kind of done with Sailor Moon, and that makes me so sad. But yeah, so I hope you guys thought this was interesting. I definitely had a blast. It's made me really nostalgic, or it's helped fulfill, I guess, some of the nostalgia I've been dealing with. And I got to read through something that I've been like wanting to read forever and just never gotten around to for whatever reason. So there was a lot of good that came out of reading this. I'm happy I did read it. And it's also cathartic to get rid of stuff, at least for me. For anybody that has read or watched this series, if y'all have any recommendations for books that touch on the things that I do like in this series, please let me know. Anything like with the whole destined to be together trope, or you know, like my favorite trope is like the star-crossed lovers, like those kind of things I really like, but also things that really touch on fate and destiny and things like that. And also something that I have a hard time finding is characters like Sailor Moon, not her whininess, because that gets on my nerves a little bit too, but the reason why I got like my little crescent moon tattoo on my neck is because I've always loved how her thing is that she fights for love and justice, you know? So kind of like hopeless romantic hero would be a good way in my mind to put that. So yeah, if y'all can think of anything that matches those that you think are really good, please let me know. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.